Welcome to The Secret Witch Show, the podcast providing a safe and alchemical altar space of conversations which help powerful women escape a half-hearted, spiritless society and rediscover the freedom of living a wildly magical life. Every other week, we explore how to cast aside the wounds of shame, guilt, and fear connected with fully being yourself, so you can grant yourself permission to stop hiding, ground soulfully back into your body, illuminate your whole soul desires, tend your soul, rediscover and reclaim your powerful gifts, express your magic, and manifest your wildest alchemy. There's no better place to become who your heart longs to be. This is where we will guide you into liberation. I'm your host, Nicole Barton, and I'm so excited to dive in. Welcome, my loves. Today is a juicy episode and I'm excited to share it with you. This is going to be part 2 with Sara Fakih. Before we dive in, I just want to remind you, in case you're a new listener who is feeling stuck in your mundane life and longing for magic, or indeed if you are a secret witch that's been with us for a long time, I want to remind you that there is a beautiful Meet Your Witch transformational ceremony waiting for you as a tender next step if you love this show and want to go deeper. It's available by visiting nicolebarton.co.uk, link is in the show notes, and signing up to our email list. So now that reminder's out the way, let's dive into today's show, because on The Secret Witch Show today, our guest is Sara Fakih. Sara's work is an invitation to remember to come home to the body, to emotion as power, and to the truth that lives beneath survival and self-sabotage. Through trauma-informed somatic practices, body-mind maturation coaching, and movement rooted in yoga and dance, she guides women into deeper embodiment, emotional freedom, and nervous system repair. A freedom explorer and rule breaker at heart, Sara weaves ancient wisdom with modern somatic intelligence, empowering women to reclaim their voice, purpose, and wild feminine essence through womb reconnection, ancestral healing, and embodied remembrance. In this particular episode, we explore what it truly means to become the cycle breaker via an embodied initiatory portal into the womb and ancestral lineage. Sara shows how inherited trauma lives in the womb and how ancestral wounds are carried through the feminine lineage as silence, suppression, and fear of power, and how womb healing becomes a somatic portal for discerning what was passed down. We speak about the role of rage and pleasure in healing lineage wounds and the importance of using our voice and reclaiming our body's natural cycle to stop numbing and reclaim our true feminine power. This is a grounded exploration of reclaiming the womb as the place where pain becomes embodied wisdom and the trauma stops with you. Let's dive in. Welcome back to The Secret Witch Show, my love. I am super grateful to be here with you again for part 2. And in our last episode, we kind of dived into wild feminine embodiment, into safety, survival patterns, and the power of listening to the body. And then we were like, oh, we could go deeper into womb wisdom and ancestral healing. So here we are. It feels like the initiatory kind of witch wound, all the things. So yeah, I think that would be, I'm super excited to have you here, and I can't wait to see where we end up. Yes, welcome.
So excited. Thank you for having me back.
You are absolutely welcome. Thank you for being here. So, as always, I always start, even though we've kind of explored some of your journey before, the premise of my kind of modality of soul reclamation is that women's stories are the remedy, and they're what helps other women heal. So we're all archetypal remedies for each other, essentially. So I would love to know if you could share a little bit more about, particularly given we're here to explore how to become the cycle breaker, womb and ancestral healing in the body. What was your own journey with that? I guess, what was the moment where you kind of started to realize what you've seen about womb healing and ancestral healing?
First of all, thank you for having me back. I'm loving these conversations. I probably would say I only started delving into the depth and the awareness of my womb around, we're 2026 now, 2020.
That year.
Oh yeah, that here. I think you already know if you're a cycle breaker already. It's that term, the black sheep, the one that potentially felt different, cast out, misunderstood, the one that felt it all. Yeah, the cycle breakers are here for reasons, and it's you even have this inner rebellion within you that and it's not from logic, that you are here to create a change even if you have no idea how. It's just innately in your body, and when you start to actually delve and drop into the womb wisdom, oh my god, there's so many layers. And I'm so passionate about women reclaiming their power from their wombs, connecting back to their wombs, and we'll delve into this and the whole connection of the womb. We touched on obviously the nervous system, the vagus nerve, and our voice and womb. This for me it continues to be. I feel there is continuous unraveling as you connect to the womb. And I think there is such a layer of actually deep remembrance as you go there. Doesn't mean that it's pretty when you start to connect to the womb and actually realizing that whole line, that red line, we could call it the rose line, the energy of the rose. It makes me feel again that connection to the womb space and that whole ancestral thread that runs through your whole maternal line, and that epigenetically, when you were a cycle breaker, it's not all airy fairy at all. It's deep alchemy, and actually sometimes you realize, oh my god, I'm not this is not mine, this is not just mine, this is not mine. This is my whole line of the women that came before me that never ever felt safe enough to even be able to alchemize, let alone feel what they were never aware of potentially or allowed to feel. And that for me is the cycle breaker. It's such reclamation, but it's like that thing I always say, liberation doesn't come with challenge. And deep alchemy. Yeah.
No, I love that. There's so many threads already that I want to pull, because it's just, when you're describing the cycle breaker, I was like, oh, that sounds like the secret witch. It's like, of course.
It is.
Yeah, so I love that. That's I feel like all the listeners will be like, oh yes, that's me. And then followed by, oh great, thank you. But like I love what you said. What I would love to know actually, so people can actually recognize if they're a cycle breaker, because we've described the kind of the feelings and the emotions, like the feeling like a black sheep, cast out, misunderstood, those sorts of things. I wonder if there's like a way that we start to recognize that, like somatically, that we're being called to be a cycle breaker.
I think there's quite a few different layers and threads here. One of the biggest ones is that kind of feeling misunderstood and cast out. And in that, I think there can be, I'll speak on speaking the truth, which has been a huge one for me. Is not something that you mind say your way out at all. And I think we can sometimes shame and get in a bit of a shame spiral with it when we realize how much our throat somatically closes up. An example, when you have to speak in front of people, whether you have to just even speak your truth to, I'll add the ones that are direct to us, for instance, our parents. Somatically, it literally can feel like your throat will close up, and that you're feeling sweats, shakes, all sorts. That for me is a huge one that still happens. I always say that we're never fully free of some of these things. And actually, they get quieter and don't have as less of a hold over us.
Yeah.
When we're thinking about when we're breaking cycles of generations before us, it's not light work. Of course, it's like it's hard to really grasp from the mind, but that somatic charge in the body, yeah. So there's layers of always feeling cast out. Always there may be this hidden, remember, this is not it may just be niggling in the background, that where I'm not going to be liked, or that kind of energy of like I'm going to be cast out, and where sometimes maybe in a group of women you may actually end up going inward and going smaller. There's so many layers, but I do believe, again, when you feel that somatic kind of closing off, and wanting to shut down, and really dissociate, that is one of the biggest portals to show.
Yeah,
Oh,
I love that actually. And it really reminds me of what we were speaking about actually before we pressed record, about kind of being like almost like feeling numb and wanting to. And so it's almost like what I'm hearing in that is like there might be some things that we start to become aware of as we look for it, like, oh, the throat, and we start to notice, oh, my throat kind of closes over, or, the sweats and shakes and those sort of somatic things. But actually, there's also a level of like sometimes we're just not even yet aware of it. And then I suppose it kind of maybe manifests as numbness or dissociation, or maybe feeling like a sensitive woman stuck in a world that's so like loud, and we don't know what to do about that, I guess.
yeah. I mean, I think we inherit and take on different mechanisms in order for us to move through what we've experienced as a child when we were that cycle breaker, because our parents didn't understand that. And when you were a child, of course, especially if you have children yourself, you will already see that they will be your biggest teachers, because they've come through you, and they pick up, I think we spoke about on this last one, they pick up the field of your nervous system. So they're holding things within you that sometimes that you haven't met yourself. And that's why your child can be the biggest mirror, and why the cycle breakers are always the ones that probably triggered their parents the most, because they were the ones that called out, the toxicity in the family fields when they can see this isn't right. And they're the ones who call it out. They don't even know consciously that they're doing it. They just know, and they'll speak their truth. They'll be quite emotionally explosive, because they're the ones that are feeling all of this suppressed emotion around them that their family feel and not even aware that they're feeling.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. There's something about that almost speaks to like what I call the wounded healer as well. It's like we come here to experience that. And often for the secret witch is because she's also here to be a healer and to help others break those cycles. I'm wondering if you have anything to speak to on that, but it feels like the cycle breaker is almost like the wounded healer in some ways.
Hugely.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because they come hand in hand, if we're going to really be honest.
Yeah.
I think when you come through as that, and again, when we come through as a cycle breaker, it can manifest in different ways, where we can sometimes feel that we need to take charge and control, and we can sometimes feel that maybe we haven't got that throat closing, but you're feeling that you have to push through and over dominate, and then that inversion of power, for instance, you're feeling you're having to push through and enforce that power, rather than actually truly coming back and really knowing that you have that power in yourself. But
I'd love to put power as well as we
power
jump
is a
in.
huge thing. We're actually so scared of our own power and through that. But yeah, it can manifest in so many different ways, when you are that cycle breaker, because you had to learn. You had to learn through the way of coping of how actually to survive. And that's why usually we shut down our gifts. We shut down and our healing gifts, that true essence. And we've become the wounded healer because we end up taking things on, and then we end up going into this world trying to, in a way, save others from going through what you went through.
Mm. Yes.
And that's
Yeah.
how we go into that wounded healer, where we go into that, that whole thing of, it's so deeply, 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 deeply conditioned within the woman of, I'm the one who needs to protect and save,
Mm.
rather than actually, no, it's not about me saving everyone else. It comes back to me, and I can hold space for other people to move through what they need to move through. But it's not straightforward. It's not logically, but we end up thinking that, yeah, we need to save the world, rather than actually stand in our power and realize when we do the work ourselves, that initially ripples out. And then when we're holding spaces, noticing when you're still coming from that wounded healer, where you need to feel like you need to go and save someone from their own internal process. There's a fine line, I think, between being able to be that wounded, like when you're innately a healer and you're holding these spaces. I think a lot of us have never had that deep holding. But I always say in the work that I do is being able to discern when you need to stand back and allow someone to process before you go in and you're holding them. We can actually take someone's process away from them by going in and trying to save them, because that's coming unconsciously from our own stories. Why when we usually when we've gone through a lot ourselves, we end up becoming an even more powerful space holder and healer, because we've had to go there ourselves.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. There was something around power that was coming to mind, and I'm just trying to see if I can retrieve it, because I think what it was, as you were speaking, I think there's an interesting relationship that the secret witch has with power, and it's either she senses that she doesn't have any power at all, she feels like she doesn't have any power at all, or she feels like her power is just going to obliterate everyone, so that her power is too much. And I think almost like it's because when we are the cycle breaker, we don't necessarily feel powerful. We don't see that as a powerful thing. And I think that's almost to do with the kind of narratives we've had around power and what the template for power looks like, because it's a very masculinized template of power that we've had modeled. Which of course kind of leads us into, you said something about reclaiming our power through the womb. And I'm wondering if you can maybe speak to anything that I've just said, but particularly around like what feminine power is to you and how we can begin to access that via the womb, and even why that's the way to feminine power.
And as we know, that this subject is so nuanced, and we could speak about it for eons. For me, straight away when you said that, it makes me think of anchored, being so anchored and grounded and connected. That for me is power and truth.
Yeah,
That is power. We have witnessed, and we're witnessing a collapse right now of the falsity and the inversion of what power has been, because power for most is actually coming from the wounded place of, we're not enough, where our needs are not met. I need to control, and I need to force, and I need to dominate. And that comes from we only end up doing that when we disconnect from our hearts, because we need to control the situations, and we've seen such an inversion of what power is. I think when we even say that word, straight away for most people, they have this concept and idea of what power is just because of what we see outside of ourselves and what we've been brought up with. Reclamation of power is actually realizing how much we are so unconsciously taught to give our power away to everyone, to hierarchy, to put people on pedestals. And that same way is where we want to save others, we end up feeling that there is always someone out there that's going to help save us. And it's, for me, that reclamation of female power is actually reclaiming the relationship with mother, the whole line of your mother, realizing that so many of us still stay in that childlike state even as adults, because we've never healed that mother wound. And for me, when we're coming into the womb, it's all about healing the mother wound, and it's the earth, connecting to the earth grid, And it makes me always think when we're connecting to the womb, how she is actually so deeply connected to the grid of the earth. And it always makes me think of this primordial mother energy. And it makes me think of like dragon energy, protective. She's fierce, but she knows herself so much that nothing can shake her. But she's also so grounded. She knows not to abuse, and this is such a nuanced subject, because we can still see when we want to go into that power of like, I need to forcefully control something. And so it's a fine line of when you're realizing, oh, okay, yeah, I'm now coming into this place where I'm feeling that I'm needing to kind of project power or enforce power. And actually it's always makes me think of coming back into that word anchored and truth. For me is what makes me feel like that real reclamation of that feminine and connecting to the womb.
Yeah, I can really feel the kind of contrast in feminine power that you kind of described there. The way I often describe it as well is like that, like you said, that heart-led kind of softness as well, but also still the wildness. It's like wild and soft. I often use the archetype of she-wolf, the kind of wild but nurturing mama wolf. So I love that you brought in the dragons there as well. What I would love, probably some people at home might be listening to this and wondering what we really mean by womb healing as well. Because often I think the secret witch can feel quite disconnected from her womb. So yeah, maybe that, and also exploring how the womb holds this ancestral memory as well.
And like anything somatic, this cannot be understood from the mind as much, and we have to bring that awareness when we still try to logicalize some of this. It's so human of us, but this is not logical work.
I always say that in the apothecary, and then people will be like, so how does this do it? I'm like, I'm not answering our questions.
It is very hard for us when we have been living for so long in the mind. But there is such a deep trust, actually, when you empower people to be like, no, trust. This is coming from not a logical place, and starting to see every time your mind wants to logicalize this.
Yeah, I get the frustration too, because my own guide was like, no, I'm not answering how. So I just passed that down.
Yeah,
this is the passed down secret witch trauma.
Oh, true. Because I think when I feel like I started connecting to my womb, and I could still feel my mind doing all of this thing of like second guessing things, and I think it's a constant journey as well. But actually to be able to sit with and be with your womb, but somatically, self-touch. We'll touch a little bit even on pleasure, and actually working around with your eros too. Voice as well. And I think the two come hand in hand when you're starting to play around with your voice, because she is directly connected to your cervix. So there are so many layers. Somatically, I think it's bringing conscious awareness, and this is again not from logical. It's bringing conscious awareness to your womb space daily, weekly, like starting to connect to her, starting to speak to her. Something that I do with clients, and in two of my courses, one of in Sambada and Reclamation, I do this, where I say, tune into your cycle. And tune in when we're going through PMT, PMDD. There's so many layers now, and obviously I don't think that there is a coincidence that so many women are suffering from womb issues, endometriosis, polycystic, like all of this. There's a disconnect. And I understand, because when I speak to maybe people that are not into this, they try to logicalize this so much.
Mm.
And it's connecting to her, speaking to her. But what I get women to do is, when you are on your bleeds, and when you're feeling the rubbish, maybe the resignation, maybe the anger, maybe whatever's there, really tune in to what is actually coming up for you when you are on your bleed. And I mean the thoughts that that is not really your truth. Like, tune into them, because don't ignore them and then just expect, like, oh, it's just PMT, I'm feeling like this. No, they actually are such portals to things that you don't even realize that you are carrying in your body mind from, potentially, again, your mother, your grandmother, like the field, like the whole line behind you. It might not even just be yours that's coming up. And actually, I feel when we're on our cycles, we don't use it fully as a portal to really see, like, especially when we're getting really bad cramps, like what is happening there? Like, are you nourishing yourself or not enough? Which is huge for women, because a lot of the time we think we may be nourishing ourselves, but we're actually still doing it from a place of maybe control, rather than deeply being nourished. I remember in one of my trainings, I had to do an earth healing diet. And it sounds lovely, right? Until you're in the diet. And it's not really a diet. It's more like, again, you're finding conscious foods that are around healing the earth element. And the earth element in traditional Chinese medicine is around the spleen. And the spleen is around you being nourished. It's connected to the stomach and really nourishing you. And this is something that I've noticed so many women have disconnected from, that depth of nourishment. Again, this connection to their womb. And I remember the amount of rage that was coming through on this diet, but also the amount of disgust. And I was like, this is insane. So I've kind of veered off a little bit, but there was stuff that was coming up that used to come up again around my cycle. Like, don't ignore the thoughts, the feelings, all of the stuff that comes up that we blame. I know that, again, some women really struggle with their periods, and sometimes, they need to get some extra help, but bring conscious awareness to your womb. I think we really don't understand our consciousness, our awareness.
The power of
So much power, because and to be with is not easy, as we know. Like, to bring your conscious awareness to a part of your body and sit with it and be with it is not easy. Your mind, you'll start to notice your mind wants to go off, like everywhere. It doesn't really want us to connect. So conscious connection to the womb, self-touch. We'll touch on, pleasure, eros, because that also can be really triggering for many women as well. And your voice. Funnily, my voice just went really deep just then, but your voice, love that. Your voice. And I mean, you've experienced this. There's a reason why I even bring that primal sounding into one of my like weekly classes, because I think, and I even say, it's not coming from your voice, like your throat, coming from you're like deeply from the earth, from your womb space. That is that connect.
Yeah,
it's just
I'd
sorry
love to explore that a little bit more. There was something that I was going to ask you, and now it's just gone. I think it's about the secret witch, because I know from my own experience, I know it was. One of my own initiations with the witch, as I call them, was endometriosis. And that's kind of what woke me up to the work, probably about a decade ago. One of the many portals started to awaken me. And I remember reading Wild Power, which is very much around that kind of practice of really tuning in, by Shani and Alexandra. And I love that book. I don't know how you feel about it, but it's a magical kind of way of like beginning to kind of step into that work, is my feeling. But I think what struck me as you were talking was this sense of like often in society, we will pathologize people's pain and particularly like feminine pains instead of seeing them as a call to listen, is what I'm hearing in what you're saying.
Hugely. I think
Mm.
it's the crux of all of this, the word again, somatic healing. And in our society, it's so hard because, as you said, to pathologize, to logicalize, we don't use our pain as portals
Mm.
to actually your body speaking to you for a reason.
Mm.
Our bodies are speaking to us so
Yeah.
loudly. I mean, I don't even think that we can even comprehend the power of really connecting to our wombs.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I think there is such a reason why we have been disconnected and severed from mother, from earth,
Mm.
from our womb.
Yeah, and there's something interesting about that. Again, going back to what I started with, actually, the question where we're talking about what are the symptoms or the signs that we're cycle breakers. I'm wondering if one of them is things like feminine imbalances.
Mm,
Almost like those are some of the ways that we're called into seeing that we're a cycle breaker and claiming that for ourselves.
mm. It made me, I laughed because maybe when you said cycle break, it made me think about our cycles.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I
As
love
you
that.
said that, I was laughing because I was like, oh, it's like, oh, we connect to our cycles. That's what breaks the cycle.
I love that. That's so magical. Like, so true, though, isn't it?
Being in our cyclical energy, like, is that feminine power. Like, we have been so disconnected from all cycles, from
Mm.
every cycle that is, again, that connection to earth, the seasons, our calendar, like everything has been completely distorted. And so, yeah, actually, that's why I was laughing.
Yeah.
Because it landed when you said the cycle break, and it made me think, oh my God, like, yeah, we are
Yeah.
reclaiming our cycles. We're using and understanding these cycles, same way as, when we think about our cycles, when we are on our
Mm.
cycles, are the same as kind of going through the seasons, and how we think that we can just be the same every single day and function
Mm.
the same every single day. That's not the truth. But we again, we've been living in a very masculine led, logicalized, in the head place that we have to start to really detangle, like this living from the head, and starting to bring such conscious awareness to our cycles, our womb, our voice, and yeah, the somatic responses to your body. And that, again, like I said, it's so layered because it's so,
Mm.
when you just start, that's just the tip of the iceberg,
Yeah.
where you're starting to realize, oh, and I understand why people start to go into feeling like, oh my God, no, this is too much.
Yeah.
Healing is not, when we go into this word healing, it can be very in a place that we need to be fixed, like something's wrong with
Yeah.
us. Actually, it's not. The more you heal, the more you feel.
Mm.
And whilst you start to feel things that your whole generation before couldn't feel, and it can be painful. There's that paradox of like, but when we go there, it's so liberating at the same time.
Mm.
And for me, that's being the change. Like that,
Yeah.
for me, is being the change.
I love that so much. I also love what we just discovered and uncovered. Of course, that makes total sense. So to become the cycle breaker, we literally have to step into a connection with our cycles. Yeah, there's something around the remedy that I often speak to with that's an ancestral remedy, particularly for women. It's a remedy called folliculinum,
Mm.
which is of course like estrogen. So it kind of it's the remedy layer of kind of the ancestral healing. And so it's interesting because there's that sense of like, again, like womb connection, and there's that connection to like, what is it that they say, like when we're born we have, or when like our mothers have our eggs when they're born or something along those lines. And
We're connected to our grandmother. So like
yes,
when our mothers were in our grandmother,
that's it.
we
Yeah.
were the egg in our mother. Like, yeah.
Yes. I think that's relevant to explore in terms of this connection between womb and ancestral healing. And I wonder if you have anything to speak to on that.
Oh my God, huge. I mean, it's already proven within epigenetics already.
Mm.
You know, whether you want to argue it's 7 generations. I know that there is a lot around that, but I don't get too affixed with that set information. I think just feel into what feels right. But, you know, even in a lot of kind of Mayan tradition, they'll talk about 7 generations back, 7 generations forward. In epigenetics, they're kind of saying the same thing, but it could be even longer far back. I don't know. But for me, the womb is literally the portal. How are we all born? You know, how is our soul being manifested into matter on this earth through the portal, the gateway of the womb? So how it can't, I think, again, when I'm thinking about it, I know that we cannot fully logicalize this either. But if we're an egg, for instance, that has just started to be created within our mother, and being carried by our grandmother, and going back into when we're, for instance, when we're in utero, we are not separate from mother. We're not separate from mother. And we are literally picking up on their whole nervous system. And think about how our nervous systems are always a product of our environment. And so, of course, just think about the state of your great-grandmother's nervous system, grandmother's nervous system, mother's nervous system, you. Of course, there's a whole ancestral line. That's why sometimes I think we have to really bring conscious awareness that healing is not just, it's an individual thing. Yes, it is, in terms of us taking responsibility, and there's no one else to save me, but there is community to support me. There's a big difference. Lost my thought, but it's that ancestral, yes, that's it. But we are actually healing, like I said, coming back to what our parents before us, and of course I'm saying mother, but remember, you know, we are still connected to the father line and their family as well. So, and it's held in, like, within our fascia, within our whole nervous system, because as soon as we started to form in the womb, we are picking up the field around us. So as you can see, if our mother's not done any awareness, any somatic healing, disconnected from her own womb, her own voice, not even realizing, you come in, you've picked up all of that, and if she's not even conscious of feeling it, you're the cycle breaker. But I mean, I wouldn't change it any other way. I feel like there's more and more cycle breakers, either realizing, oh, okay, like now I'm realizing I'm not just alone in this. You know, there is so many of us, and it's so important that we allow ourselves to come back into the feeling. And I'm going to touch on rage in a bit as well, because there's a huge
I was
connection.
going to say, I had rage on my list, actually. Rage and grief. Like all the things. Rage, grief, pleasure. That's where we're going. all the emotions and all the things. So let me just say, if there was a question, I think there was a question I had before we go there, and then I want to go there. I think one of the things that struck me to ask was, like, are there some kind of common ancestral patterns that you see show up in women? I know before we pressed record, we briefly touched on the witch wound, because I think this is one of the most obvious ones for the secret witch, but I'm wondering if there's anything else.
Again, it can manifest so differently in different women. Like I said, whether either the woman learns to be over dominant, full control, really disconnected from her womb, from her power, and then actually is going into that whole, like, from that masculine patriarchal kind of, I need to enforce power, or they go into completely shutting down and dissociating and finding that they're losing their voice, they're losing their power, they're powerless, disconnected from their pleasure. literally disconnected from orgasm, from their cervix, from feeling safe in their body. I mean, I'm really careful when I use that word, as that's why I paused there. Or feeling over like so much sexual energy and not knowing what to do with it.
Yeah.
And giving maybe her power away in that way. There's so many, as you can see, it's so nuanced, because every woman will have different ways of being, of all of this manifesting within their body. But a lot of it is around being able to actually tell yourself the truth and speak your truth, and noticing, I would say shame is a huge one that actually disconnects us from our womb. It always feels really like tar like, and it feels like it clouds and has created this like severing. And so notice, even when I talk about when we go into pleasure, what comes up, because if there's like there's shame, like, and we will always, there's so many levels of it, because it's in the collective.
I love how viscerally you described that then, like really brought it alive. I can almost feel it. And yeah, that perfectly kind of leads us into pleasure. Let's just go there.
I think it's such a nuanced subject, and I don't want to do it disjustice, especially in light of even things surfacing right now. I think when we start to realize how many women have had such a distorted experience, view, that like what they've experienced, what they've seen, of sex, of like pleasure, of self-pleasure, of all of that, there is such a distortion and such a disconnect. I mean, I think it's still wild that they only started doing research, like for instance, on the clitoris in the time that we've been alive.
Yeah.
It just, I think it's insane. And that our pleasure is such a portal. We really struggle. This is still the same thing of the disconnect from earth. We struggle to receive pleasure.
Yes.
I know in my and again, it's that thing of that pendulum, when we're either too much or not enough. That the same way as you can either feel really over sexualized, or you've completely suppressed it and numbed it out and cut yourself off from it. And I find women will either be two ways.
Yeah.
And you'll notice this, maybe look at maybe when you were like a teenager, or and you started like, well, I mean, sexual energy actually starts to move within children from really young, but again, we're not taught about it because it's so shamed. And it's just energy. It's just because of the stories that we've created and how much we've shamed it. It's just energy. It's got nothing to do with them. They don't understand. It's just energy moving. But as we start to grow and into adolescence, and what we again are seeing out there, no one spoke about it. Obviously, I think growing up now, there's more dialogue around it. There's more, all of we're openly speaking about it. But I think that whole thing of also over sexualizing women is huge. It's so within the collective psyche. Again, that's why women sometimes feel that they're too much and don't be too over sexual. There's so much. That's why I said I want to give this so much, just because it's so nuanced. It's so nuanced, and how we can even learn to over sexualize ourselves in order to be safe.
Yes.
In order to also,
we're talking actually to kind of the archetype of the lover and the prostitute in some ways, which I've likened. Some of the secret witch queens are kind of like the prostitutes. We've learned to sell our soul in order to receive love and approval.
Oh
the
my God.
secret witches.
Hugely.
So yeah, I really feel you on that being such a huge, like we're talking to like two big archetypes ultimately. What occurs to me is as you're speaking, and this is the same for the witch wound, is that almost like the pleasure wound is an ancestral wound. And it's like to heal the ancestral wound of pleasure, we also have to like enter pleasure in order to reclaim it. And it's that catch-22, isn't it? I think that's such an important point because it's the same with the witch wound. And I always say one of the universal healing principles that I work with, that's kind of the foundation of archetypal apothecary, is like cures like, which essentially means that what causes something also cures it, which is a very different way of looking at medicine to how the modern world looks at medicine. But that's kind of like a universal principle, like an ancient one that's kind of embedded into healing. I've got where I was going with this now. But in essence, exactly. In essence, like cures like. So we have to almost like be willing to walk into working with the witch and working with pleasure in order to heal our ancestral trauma around the witch and pleasure, if that makes sense.
100%. And I think I could even see it in myself. And this is something that I've been really exploring more and more. And I really want to explore more and more. And there's such a thing around also our wild, untamed rage and our pleasure.
Ooh, same.
Yeah.
All the juicy links.
There is a real connect to both. And also being like also with us being seen. That connect with intimacy, like intimacy is allowing us to be really seen, but in our rawness, in our wildness. And actually there's so many layers to that of how much we don't allow ourselves to be in that wild, erotic place. Not from the prize of someone else, not that you want to be, not for someone else, not to gain or manipulate or entice. Because again, that's a mechanism that we have learned
to keep
safe and to master, and actually and to really start to detangle that is a lot. For me, something huge is like mirror work, self-touch. But it doesn't have to be like just self-touch, not necessarily self-pleasure, just connecting so deeply to your body, and what comes up around that is so alchemic. Even if you want to go even deeper, even doing mirror work naked, like really, this is huge. That's why I said I don't want to do this a disservice, because it's so huge. And I think because so many women, like I said, have received some sort of violation, or there's so many levels, obviously some to the worst extreme, but the percentage of women that have received something around not feeling safe around their body and around receiving and around pleasure, they end up have shut themselves off from it. And it really shows me how important our eros and our pleasure is. Because if you think about what sexual energy is, it's life force energy. It's a life. It's like it's how we came here to earth. As you know, for a woman to conceive much easily, she has to be in a place of receivership, and actually a woman will conceive even easily if she goes to the pinnacle of her orgasm and is in complete and utterly like ecstasy and bliss and full surrender, which also shows me also another reason why we're having also so many, and I'm not shaming it at all, but so many IVF births now as well. Because
yes, I was just actually making a link back to Philip Klein with that as you were speaking. Finish your sentence first and then I'll come back.
It's showing that, again, the disconnect from our womb to our pleasure, to our voice, and we even see it. And this is not a coincidence, because I had a conversation with a student this morning, and we were talking about the voice and the primal voice, and think about how many women that maybe like now booking cesareans and things like that, we have disconnected. Think about what a woman giving birth that
Mm.
primal voice, that primal sounding we're trying to contain.
Mm.
And that
Yeah.
primal sounding is directly connected to your pleasure and to your eros. So that same, and sometimes it can sound rageful and
Mm.
destructive and painful, but it's the same.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. So important. I've spoken to women about kind of reclaiming the wildness in birth as well.
And I go,
She's certainly my own portal. That's another story for another time. One of the things that there's two things that came up there. One was you talked about women receiving, and I think that is something that we've kind of culturally been conditioned out of feeling safe to do. But I often say, like, we're literally physiologically built to receive. Like, that's what women have been built for. Which, don't get me wrong, it's so understandable that we don't feel safe to receive, but it's a nice reminder that we are built that way. Like, that's literally our physiological makeup.
yeah.
So I don't know whether you wanted to say anything in response to that, and then I've got another piece around
Yeah, I think again, there is a big reason why we can't logically comprehend that, but there's a big reason why we have learned to not feel safe in receiving.
yeah.
Because I think we are so in our power. And again, power is not that place of dominance and force and control. It's
Yeah.
actually some truth and authenticity and being in our hearts and knowing, that dragon mother energy, which is like protective, but yet she's still in our heart. She knows that, all beings are, beings of God, source, universe, like of we're here
Mm.
to connect, to unite. And when you end up suppressing that feminine energy, her wildness, her untameness, her truth, her anchored, her voice, the connection to our womb, the connection to giving birth to life, and then also having healed. I don't want to say healed, but because I think I don't feel like there's such word in the space that we're in right now in humanity. I think that there's a constant journey of it, but no place to get to. That when that child comes through, that child feels held, seen, loved, is come through into a nervous system and into a field of safety, trust, and knowing, and being in their heart, and then not having to not having to live in a world where they're like, what is this? I've come into this earth and I'm having to suppress things in order to survive and to cope in life. I've kind of gone on offering a piece there, but I think what I'm trying to say is it's so much bigger. This is about really healing humanity on a collective level. This connection to the womb, it's not a joke. It's really
I love that.
huge.
It just returns us to how vital the work is, I guess. What I was going to speak to earlier that you reminded me about with the numbness piece and being on the pill is going back to folliculinum. That is essentially what the pill is made of. And so the kind of estrogen piece, it's like, and I wrote a piece a while ago about how, in essence, like, there's always, homeopathically we call ancestral work miasms, and there's always like a miasm of the time. So I think, like, there was the cancer miasm, when cancer was a huge thing that was disrupting society, and then there's like other ones as wars have been, and all those sorts of things. But what I realized and pieced together, because there's so much going on around this kind of disconnect, is that folliculinum is almost the miasm of our time. It's like we've been so disconnected by the pill that we've kind of lost touch with our wombs. We've lost touch with our cycles. We've lost touch with the feminine, in essence. And so, I don't know if that brings up anything additional to speak to, but it just reminded me, it just popped in.
I think it made me think of that. What just came through when we were talking about cycle breakers and that disconnect from cycles. I think it's been a huge tool in disconnecting us from our cycles and from I think that's also a reason potentially why so much has been coming through around womb issues in so many women. I think
Yeah.
they're innately connected, because if you think of it's like taking something to numb your to connect, like disconnect you, numb yourself off. Like how many women have been taught like their period was such, oh, it's just
And shameful.
so shameful, so shameful. To hide it, and I think, oh my God, like if women didn't bleed, none of us would be here.
Yeah.
How are we shaming the most powerful month of a woman's life? Like every month is the most powerful portal. I mean, I'm sure that you and to the listeners as well, when you are actually on your bleed, there's so much that comes through you if you really listen. Right, really listen to even what wants to be birthed. And I mean, don't mean like life as in a child. I mean, we are creatrixes literally through the womb. And actually, sometimes I've got the biggest downloads of ideas of things that I know I need to do this. And potentially when I'm not on my bleed, I'm like giving like self excuses to not do it. But that's like the truth. Sometimes when you're on your bleed and something comes through and it's powerful that what you want to create or what you want to see in the world, don't ignore that. And I think this is why we've been severed. Like we are so more, I don't think we can comprehend the power that we have when we are connected to our wombs.
Yeah.
Oof. That I think there is definitely, there's been so many, like you said, in our lifetime, the pill has had such a huge reason, and then dressed up in it's been dressed up that it's actually been like as if it's been our power that we've got this medication that, oh no, now we can, we're not just going to have babies, like actually we can monitor our cycles, and we actually have so much more power over all of that than we realize as well. Of course, we live in a world where, again, we have to logicalize and pathologize everything when it comes to women's health.
Yes. Oof. I love that. So I'm just thinking where to go next. Is there anything that's alive for you that that you want to speak to?
Yeah, I think I touched on when we're working with pleasure. Again, this is and we've got to be so soft and slow with going there around your relationship with pleasure, but I want to add in the relationship with our rage too. And the same way as that we can disconnect from our pleasure to stay safe, right? I mean, I can't tell you, again, there's stories with so many women that haven't even actually been able to properly drop into an orgasm. Shows us how much like the cervix can be so tight. Like we're so disconnected like from there. But to relax the cervix, if we start to do more vocal activations and vocal sounding and moving and playing with your voice more, it helps to relax the cervix. But also we can hold so much suppressed rage that we don't actually feel like, this is not a conscious decision, by the way. It's so unconscious that when we even touch with it, using our voice and moving into rage, it feels like oh no, that's unsafe, and your body wants to shut down. Or you feel like you're going to explode with rage. You don't know what to do with it. And I think that's the same thing of like women not connecting to their sexual energy and feeling like, well, that's just not me. I'm just not very sexual. No, I don't believe that. I do not believe that. Like I do not believe that every single woman has such powerful sexual energy. It's just you've learned to either suppress it the same way with again, either feeling that you've got so much sexual energy and then you end up potentially giving it away, or when you were younger were really promiscuous or used it to entice and manipulate.
It's
We do the
very
same thing with anger.
snake, archetypal snake is coming in there for me.
Not surprised. And then the same thing with anger. It's the same thing. Either women really shut it down so much. I'm not angry. I'm not an angry person. And actually sometimes feel like really offended if someone says something about them being angry, because that is so held. All I'm going to say, I mean, for instance, you know, the word hysteria is a Greek word meaning uterus. Like it's women from way back when women, it's wild, right? When women were actually like speaking truths and saying no, like we were called hysteric. I mean, it makes me just want to put two fingers up to like the whole bit, like, but then you start to realize, oh my God, how much anger needs to be felt. And this is something that I think I really want to speak on this actually, because it's such a nuanced subject, and it's not just about like going and feeling your anger and like just feeling all your feelings. You've got to be able to feel it responsibly. And when I say responsibly, like really, really, when there's anger there, don't just push it down. Go and carve out a piece in your day and go and express it.
Yes.
You go into the woods and scream in the woods. A car is a great one. Go into your car and put something on. Do a rage release. I mean, there's so many different ways, like, and start activating your voice.
I love the car one, because I feel like so many secret witches have said to me before, I can't go out into the woods and just scream. and I'm laughing because I've been there doing that, and people have walked past me and like, you okay? Yeah, I'm great.
I'm joining in. Don't know what you're missing. But it's true. I mean, I think sometimes as soon as you feel that, oh, I can't express it that much, okay, go somewhere else where you know that you can let wild. And then if you struggle to feel it, just start to activate your voice more. Start to like really activate the voice. I mean, I might do one now, and it's going to be scary, but I always say to women, if you start to play with your voice, and this is something that I even do in my spaces where I get people to audibly sigh, and I can still see when women are holding back and they're doing it. I don't want her to think that like there's some, just sigh. Don't control it. And actually, when you start to play with your voice and you just like sigh like and just start to play with your voice and make really weird, ugly sounds. And it can feel like, oh God, like, but notice that feeling of when you're feeling that, oh God, when you're hearing yourself, but actually it's the most powering thing. Do it. I feel like that's medicine for women. Do it every day. Do it in the car. Just do it every day, even if it makes no logical sense. And even if you're cringing when you're doing it, you'll start to cringe. And I guarantee you're going to start to feel like a sense of power.
Yeah. I love that.
A sense of truth. Honestly, it's like the biggest medicine. If I could hand that out to every single woman, I would.
I know. I was just thinking, I was just like, oh, we need like a secret witch retreat where we bring all of this in.
My God, so do.
Love that. Yeah. Well, I love that you've also kind of brought that so beautifully to like a very practical thing that women can take away as well. Because I feel like that's really gorgeous. Oh, and the important piece that I took away from what you just said as well was the piece around integration. Like, we're not just doing it for the sake of doing it. We're doing it to like really get into our bodies, really feel, and like start to then be able to see like what comes up for us. I think that was one of the things that I heard you speak to that feels very kind of aligned with what it feels to me is the true healing. It's like we often can kind of outsource ourselves and go to a healer and think that's done. But what we're talking about here is like really being with what comes up when we're in that practice, I guess, is what I'm hearing.
That's the true nature of healing, is actually integration. Because we still don't realize we give our power away when we're looking at, listen, we all know that healing modalities are really powerful and can help align us, bring us back. But that is not where it ends. It's daily conscious responsibility, daily awareness. It's that thing of being conscious, or do you want to go back into being unconscious? And it's bringing that awareness back layer by layer. And again, with that there is really no place to get to. You're coming back into yourself, this like shedding of these things that have
And that's
got
where our
believe
power is.
truths. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to add in one more thing, because your womb and voice, right, connected, what lays in between your heart. And the womb is so connected to your heart. This is why, again, when you start to connect with her, I think you start to unlock your truest essence and actually hear what you're meant to, like what you're here to create. And something that I do in one of my courses is, when we're talking about wanting to create in our visions, when we think like, oh, I don't know what my purpose is, or maybe you have and you've got an idea and you're thinking, this is what I want to do. Like, we have to tell ourselves the truth, really, even with our visions. And that's not straightforward, because sometimes we don't tell ourselves the full truth, because there is a safety there. Because if we tell ourselves the truth, we've got to do something about it.
Yeah.
But actually, when you start to connect with your womb, and then the connect to your heart, which is your essence, and like your soul's blueprint is what I feel. They're so connected. You can start to really see, like, what do you want to really create? What do you want to bring in through your vessel, through your expression here on earth?
Yeah. Love that. Love that. That's really juicy. What a gorgeous episode.
Go on and on, I
I
think.
know. I feel like we need part 3. Oh, thank you so much. I would love for you to actually, before we do, I just realized we had a question from the group. So if that's okay, if you're good with time to answer that. So this woman said, I grew up with a mother who controlled my opportunities and threw me out when I asserted my independence. Now in my own home, I'm facing conflict and my husband is suggesting we kick them out. I don't want to repeat what my mother did to me. How do I break the cycle without either enabling unhealthy behaviour or reenacting abandonment? Which feels so related, actually, now we've spoken about it all to what we've been speaking about.
When she said kick, is she talking about children? Kick?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that abandonment wound will run within the whole ancestral line there. Obviously, without speaking directly, because as you know, that some of this is so nuanced, but there'll be something around being with that abandonment wound.
Yeah.
And about when you're tuning into the felt sense of what you experience with your mother, what that brings up within your body, the more you can be with that, the less it will kind of have you. But there is a connect. Actually, this is not about you trying to teach your children. Actually, the more you can be with that abandonment wound and noticing what is coming up for you somatically, for you even around the mirror of what they're bringing up for you. Again, it's really hard without having a conversation directly with everything that's going on, because they'll probably be more nuanced in that field. But actually, don't ignore what's coming up here, because actually there is an invitation to break something that has been carried for generations within the family field here. Is that abandoned, because it will be within the children too, and there is a piece here around, actually, the more that she can be with that wound herself and be able to see the mirror of what her children are bringing up for her. It makes no sense, and I know it makes no logical, but there will be even an energetic shift in that direct relationship with them and how they're responding. Because there's something within the family field, when we're not conscious of these wounds that we're holding, it doesn't matter what you're even maybe saying, for instance, to your mother or to your children. It's the space that you're speaking from.
Yes.
There is this automatic reaction. And it doesn't make any sense. It's like, oh, she just triggered me. She hasn't said anything. That is what we're breaking. So there'll be there's something there around her really, really tuning into that wound herself and what this is really bringing up, what this is bringing up, because you don't want to repeat the cycles, but then at the same time you have to also trust in life, without obviously knowing directly what's happening, because I don't know the age of the kids, the situation of how they're, because also things will manifest differently in them and how they're responding to the world and to life and to her. But it does really, I know it comes back to actually ourself, and I think it's one of the most powerful things to come back into your family field. And we want to run as far as way. This is something that's happened for me. I've ended up moving back close to where my mother was. We had a real disconnect for years. And actually, you start to realize when you start to do this, it makes no sense, because nothing's happened.
I know exactly what you mean.
He's not done anything. He's not doing anything, But the more I'm doing this work, I'm like, what? Like, the relationship's shifting.
It's almost like there's something that you used to be available for that you become no longer available for.
100%.
But without, that's the only way I can describe it.
Like, that energetic charge is not there anymore. Like, that you're not playing into this weird dynamic you would always get pulled into. I think that's the best way that I can answer that. But again, I know it always comes back to ourselves and how we can navigate. Don't ignore the triggers. They're
where the gold lies. Gorgeous. I love that. So many Aurum themes ran through this conversation again. That gold piece that we spoke to last time, I was like, because even the womb symptoms are part of the Aurum picture, Aurum being the archetype of gold and the reclamation of our feminine power. So I feel like this is,
like turning our shadows into gold, isn't it? It's like turning darkness, or as we class it as darkness, it's not being scared of the darkness. And actually, when we can meet these parts that we have shut out, disconnected from, that's where the gold is. So
gorgeous. Okay, my love. Well, where can everybody find out about you, and what have you got coming up that you want to share with us?
Well, I mean, this will come out after this has been, because I've got a Sacred Rage thing that I've just created. It feel right now at this time, so I may end up doing a more in-person events for that. I did do a Sacred Rage online thing last year, so maybe I'll put something online soon. You can find me through my website, which I know that you'll probably put in the notes of the podcast. And my website is probably the best way, or through my Instagram. And I've got, as I said, I've got a 4-month somatic certification where we dive into this deeply, so you can actually pass on this wisdom and these tools to go and help your community, your clients, your classes. It's for everyone. You don't have to be like a specific teacher to do this course. And then I haven't launched it yet, but I also have something for reclamation, which is all about coming back into women, heart-led, soul-led women wanting to be the change and really get clear on what their vision is and what they want to put out into the world. Even if you are, sometimes we just still need that extra mentorship and help. Get really clear, because we can get in our own way when we're really wanting to put our vision out there. So
gorgeous. I love that. Thank you so much, my love. It's been gorgeous having you again, and excited to hear all these women using their voice.
Yes, that for me is like, oh God, honestly, it gives me goosebumps. Like, women just like reclaiming their voices and their way.
Love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I absolutely loved that episode. It felt really alive. So here are my takeaways. You already know if you are a cycle breaker. It's an inner rebellion, an embodied knowing that you're here to create change, even if you don't yet know how. The body shows you the call. The throat closes, you shake, you want to shut down or dissociate. That somatic charge is a portal. When we drop into the womb, there's a deep remembrance and moments of realizing this is not just mine. You are feeling the whole maternal line. Feminine power is being anchored and grounded in truth, not forcing, dominating, or controlling, but knowing ourselves so deeply, nothing can shake us. Your bleed is a portal. What comes up during your cycle, rage, resignation, ideas, truth, is not just PMT, it's information from the body. Healing is integration, daily conscious awareness, turning towards what triggers us and staying with it until the old energetic charge no longer has hold over us.